Hey guys, so I'm Avi and this is Cherie. We are here to. Hey guys, I was just sounding so professional. I'm like, oh, it's all right. No, 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 no.
We're all friends here.
That's it. That's it. We're all friends here. I'm wearing work clothes, so I'm still in the work mode somehow. But yeah,
Fabulous.
what we thought we do today is get the conversation started about how do we address animal cruelty? I know a bunch of us are passionate about that topic, but where do we start? We all want to ideally go out, change the world, but what are some of the simple things we can do, and how can we unite and work together? So that's why I posted in the group, and I know a couple of you reached out to say yes, we want to be involved and help out. And I know not everybody could make it last minute today, but at least Sherry and I are here to at least start talking about it, lay some foundations
Mhm.
to then sort of figure it out. But Sherry,
Absolutely.
do you want to tell people a little bit about yourself? And you obviously seem to know a lot about the subject too.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cherie and Cherie Harlow, but everyone calls me Cherie. I have been a whole foods plant-based person for coming on 13 years. I
Wow.
didn't start out because of animal activisting. Is that even a word? It was mainly for health.
Mhm.
But due to research and research and research along the way over those years, I realized that actually animal cruelty is a huge thing, massive thing that most of us don't
Mhm.
even realize is going on.
Mhm.
And some of us know what's going on, but we turn a blind eye because it's just a little bit easier to pretend it's not happening. So it's incredible that the little things that you can do just day to day, and it makes it that little bit easier, a little bit better in the world. I mean, not all of us are activists. Not all of us are, brave enough, confident enough, whatever word you want to use, to go out and become activists to stop animal cruelty in the face of the media and of the public. But we can all do little things day by day, um,
Mhm.
with how we live our personal lives and how we consciously not only just eat, but consciously buy, purchase, shop.
Mhm.
How we grow things at home, the chemicals we use, the things we use in our house, things that you don't even realize actually are linked to animals somewhere. We can all do our little bit. So I'm coming from that side, and as a coach who works with a lot of different clients, coaching them on their lifestyle, their health. They also run a vegan workshop, and I'm writing a cookbook at the moment.
Oh, cool.
I am, and I love it. And I say vegan, but I actually call myself a whole foods, plant-based, no oil person.
Mhm.
That basically means a healthy vegan, because veganism is, yes, no animal products, but it can be incredibly unhealthy.
I
So,
see.
yeah, so there's two sides, but
Interesting.
basically
Mhm.
the animal cruelty side here is a huge topic, huge topic.
Mhm. That's so interesting. I mean, look, to be honest, I didn't even clearly have that, my ignorance maybe, but I didn't even have the clear differentiation between, I thought it was all the same thing, like my health and animal cruelty and all that. But it's really interesting. They're somewhat different. And then, it's really useful to get down to, I mean, what's in it for me? Because in the end, nobody's just going to change for the fun of it. But
Yeah.
it's really interesting to actually identify the clear advantages. I mean, from both point of view, whether somebody wants to eat meat or somebody does not want to. But it's really, so I suppose, could we say then we're trying to educate people as well here, so at least they can make their own choices, whether it's for their own health or because they
Absolutely.
love animals. Either ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's no judgment from me ever on any of this. It's all down to personal choice and what your conscious, your beliefs, whatever it is about you that is happy to live the way you live. But if we ever, any of us are thinking about the animals out there, the environment, the planet, it's a huge subject, and any little bit we
Mhm.
can do can help in there. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you think about then, Akshay, can you tell us then what are two or three benefits if for somebody, like who's thinking about, I don't know, how would eating less meat contribute to, be it personal health or be it, compassion to other creatures or even the planet and the environment? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, it's huge. It's massive. I mean, it would take days and days and days and days and probably years to go through all of it. But a little tiny thing is like, I class us, we humans, we're animals.
Mhm,
Animal cruelty includes us.
mhm,
Cruelty to ourselves and cruelty to what we're doing to our body with what we eat, how we don't take notice of the ingredients on our products. It's cruelty to us by just grabbing whatever's close and sticking it in and eating and fueling ourselves instead of feeding ourselves. It's like we take very good care of our car and we make sure that we put the right petrol in our car, but we're not always taking notice and putting the right fuel in our bodies.
mhm.
So we as humans, animal cruelty starts there. It's little things like, I mean, with the meat side of it, meat with animal cruelty, the farming has got so big, it's got so commercial, it's about as much as possible, as fast as possible, as cheaply as possible, which means the end product is not good quality food. It tastes great,
Mhm,
smells good when it's cooking, but
mhm,
it's not what it used to be. So it's massive farming now. So straight away, if you want to start just taking out meat one day a week, you're helping reduce that. It'll take a lot more than that to stop that kind of farming, but it's a start. It's things like bees. A lot of vegans don't eat honey because they believe that it's exploiting the bees. So vegans are not only just about animal cruelty, they're about exploitation of animals as well. So
Oh,
sometimes they don't eat
interesting.
honey. Yeah, but I eat honey, but I eat very particular honey. I need to know the provenance of where my honey came from. I need to know what type of bee farmer, for want of a better word, apiarist is the word that you use. Bee farmer is easier for me, um, so that I know that the bees are happy. The bees aren't killed, they're not hurt in the harvesting of the honey, and that they're left with plenty of honey to actually feed themselves, because quite often commercial farmers will give bees sugar water and feed them sugar water over the winter. And that's not good for the bees. It's not healthy for the bees. So, that kind of, you can eat eggs. You've got vegans who won't eat eggs. Again, for health reasons, I don't eat them, but my family eat eggs, but only when they know where the eggs come from, how the chickens are farmed or looked after, whether they're free range, truly free range. It's a minefield of things. So it's about maybe just taking one step, finding that one thing that maybe you can either do without, or you want more information on where it comes from. And maybe it's just taking one step to start.
Hmm. Yes, good idea, good idea. Because I mean, the whole topic, meat or no meat, meat or vegetarian, vegan, it's such an interesting thing. But I guess if we bring it down to like, what's in it for me, what benefits do I get?
Ooh.
Because I remember I've been through like a full 360 here. I grew up in a very sort of spiritual family where we would never ever touch meat, and then then I became full blown meat eater, having my kangaroo steaks 3-4 times a week, and uh, basically, yeah, lunch, pretty much every lunch and dinner was some decent, a good, I mean, I suppose supposedly good quality meat, at least where they had a high protein content. Only thing I ever did was looked at how much protein it had, and that's pretty much it, and less
Yeah.
fat, but never really. It was a funny story back in the day when I was always vegetarian, but I was quite skinny, and then somebody said, "Hey, Abhi, I was trying to put on some weight and put on some muscles and look good for the ladies." And it wasn't really working. And then somebody said, "Hey, Abhi, if you start eating eggs and meat, it will actually help." And funny enough, that's how I started.
Right. Okay. I'm great. I'm glad you brought that subject up, because protein is the first question I get asked every single time. Where do you get your protein? Where do you get your iron? Where do you get your protein? How can you be vegan? How can you be healthy? You get more protein and pure, clean protein
Mm,
from vegetables, from nuts, from pulses, from seeds, more protein than your body can actually process.
mm,
And it's
mm,
cleaner protein. It's
mm,
and you don't need to eat meat to get protein. That's a
mm,
marketing fallacy. It's like dairy. You don't need to drink dairy to get calcium.
Mm.
You to be honest, I think we all need to just basically be really honest with ourselves sometimes. And we eat meat because we like the taste. We
Sure.
eat meat because it's culturally accepted. We eat meat
Mm.
because it's been drummed into us since we're very young. That is just the way things are. You know, you got to
Mm.
be manly, you got to eat meat. To be a healthy woman with a healthy cycle, you need the iron from the meat.
Mm.
Really sorry, but on this occasion, I'm going to call bullshit on that.
Mm.
There's been a lot of research, so much research, and I can give you oodles of paperwork on it.
Oh, I see, I
But
see.
you don't need it. You don't need it.
Hmm, I see, I see. Um, Speaking of research or paperwork, but I mean, sometimes, I'm too lazy to read the research and paperwork and stuff. But I'm a type of person, I would rather watch some documentary or watching some movie or some documentary. So I wonder, do you know any good documentaries, etc., for somebody who's just interested, who just wants to just explore this whole topic a little bit more? Are there one or two that come to your mind?
They do. There are a few that come to mind. They're mainly to do with the health of the people who are eating this way, as well as the health of the animals. So it's really good. They put both of the subjects together.
Oh, yeah.
The one that got me onto this way of eating, I got onto this when I was really sick. I got diagnosed and was very, very sick. And
Mm.
I watched a film called Forks Over Knives.
Ah.
It's been out there for years. It's been out there for a long time. Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn Jr. And Dr. Colin Campbell got together, and both of them come from American farming families. And then they were researching and researching and researching at the same time. They didn't know each other. Then they met and they got together, and this film came out of it, Forks Over Knives. A really, really good place to start.
Mm.
Another one was called What the Health.
Yeah.
Similar kind of lines, really good. The latest one, which was really interesting, came out last year, sorry, called The Game Changers.
Okay. The game
The
changer.
reason, the reason I like The Game Changers is it brings it into the younger people's minds. The other two were two old guys talking, two old guys chatting about things, and the younger ones just look at them and roll their eyes and go, "Oh God, they're all farmers." Whereas The Game Changer, it's all about today's healthy athletes,
I
pro
see.
footballers, pro footballers, weightlifters, swimmers, tennis players, Formula One drivers, and there's a lot of research in that film as well. So all three of those are really good
Oh,
ones to
great.
watch. Really good
Mm.
places to start. Yeah, yeah, really good places to start.
Yeah, the
Look,
game changer sounds quite interesting. Mm.
Game Changers is fabulous. It's a really good film. I've probably watched it 3 or 4 times now, and I pick up something different every time.
Oh, cool. I like
Yeah,
it.
it's good.
Probably next time, we should do a movie night in the group and yeah, like purposeful movie nights.
And watch one of these. Yeah,
Yeah,
perfect. I love that idea. Love that idea.
love
And
that.
there are
Oh,
there's loads more films as well. Those are probably the three I would start, because they're the ones that they're hard hitting without being gruesome and without being guilt ridden. They don't fill you with guilt, and which a lot of things.
yeah.
Sometimes guilt gets brought in, and I'm not about guilt. I'm not about shaming you to change what you're doing. It's got to be in line with who you are, how you live, what your belief system is. And me trying to guilt you in by saying no and showing you all the really bad farming practices is not going to help you. It might
Mm.
shock you, and then you'll get shocked and you'll get upset and you'll get incredibly sad, but not everybody holds on to that long enough to make change. So I think it needs to be done in a more subtle but, forceful way without being smack in your face.
Yeah, makes sense. And I mean, look, for me, it was a funny story. I knew about it for a long time, but to be honest, I kept on eating meat for what, 15 odd years. And bless this friend of mine, Doris, she was talking to me about it a couple of times in a gentle way, blah, blah, blah. But when it all came together is when I found out, because look, nobody wants to change, right?
Mm,
Unless there is really strong reason. And
mm,
for me, I'm maybe a little bit more selfish. I'm like, what's in it for me? But for
mm,
me, when I started to find out more and more about, oh wow, like meat is not necessarily just good for my health because of all this high protein. Like there's actually significant downside
mm,
to eating meat as well, and especially the kind of quality of meat that generally we eat. And then I also found out about, of course, I knew about animal cruelty for a long time, but that did not necessarily make me change. Like maybe I gave up, a couple of meals of meat for next couple of days because of that, but that was it. And then it was really when I found out about the environmental impact. I mean, not that I know much about it, but even the environmental impact was shocking. So I'm like, wow, putting three together, then I'm like, holy shit, yeah, let me consider it. But speaking of environmental impact, do you know a little bit about what's the environmental impact of this whole meat industry?
The bits that I understand, it's mainly about the farming side. The farms have got so much bigger,
Mhm.
and the hormones they're using and the chemicals that they're using and the waste that's coming out of these animals that they're living in and working in, it's depleting the ground that they're walking on as well.
I
And
see.
all of that together, and then the gases, no one wants to talk about gas, but the gas emission is
Yeah, yeah,
unbelievably incredible. The
yes.
soil depletion of the nutrients in the soil is unbelievable.
Mm,
Even they are the amount of grain they have to grow across the planet to
mhm,
feed these animals
mm.
is huge. It's so big that the grain that they're growing to feed the animals could actually feed the planet 3 or 4 times over.
Wow.
Instead of feeding the people this grain, this grain in itself is not good for people because it's quite often GMO, it's quite often sprayed, it's got all sorts of things on it. It's grown on land that has been depleted of all its nutrients over so many years that it's not healthy for humans. However, if it was on healthy land, there's enough there to feed the human population 3 or 4 times
Wow.
over,
Wow.
but they're using it to feed the animals. And so the animals are getting this unhealthy feed put into them, which beefs them up, makes them fatter, makes them more muscly, makes them more sinewy, gets more of the what's that white fatty part in the meat called? I can't think what it's called, but
Another
anyway,
one.
it builds that, which makes the flavor better when you cook it. All of that's going in, and then those animals are using more water, so much water to grow the grain, so much water to grow the feed the animals with the water, and then there's the gases on top of that, and it's just compounding, compounding. Take away that, it'll take years to replenish the land and the soil, but it's a start.
Mm,
It's massive, and on top of that, these poor animals, they're sleeping in their own feces, they're covered in sores, and these sores get mess in them. They're eating food that's got their feces in it. They got so many hormones, and the what's that called? Can't think of the name. Roundup is the generic name for it, but the chemical they use in the grains, they're finding that Roundup chemical actually in the meat. So they've sprayed the grains with the Roundup glyphosates, I think they call them, the fertilizer.
mm,
They've sprayed the grains with that. The grains have been fed to the animal. The animal's then messed as it does, walks around in it, then eats food that's full of both of those things. That goes into the meat. And when they've tested the meat that we are eating, it's got that fertilizer in it.
ouch.
It's got feces in it.
Ouch.
That's but it's not. It's something we kind of we're not told about. We don't know about it.
Mm,
Um, yeah, and environmentally, the amount of water that waste is going back into the water trough. It's going into the rivers. It's going into the soil, seeping back into the streams. It's just this ever going, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And these farms are huge, and they're all about
mm,
money.
mm.
It's this
Yes.
vicious circle. Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's just one. I'm just talking animals, like in cattle farming and pig farming. There are so many other animal farms out there doing different things, and fish farms doing things to the sea, and the commercial bees, commercial chicken farming for eggs as well as the carcass. All of that pumping
Mm.
that environment. So it's a messy business.
I
It
hear
is.
you. I hear you. Wow. So much. And yeah, this is really interesting because, yeah, and if we look at all those three sides, we don't just say, because typically I was thought, oh, being vegetarian or vegan would be like, oh, I feel really bad for animals, which I did. But yeah, but it's interesting when you think about our own, when I think about my own health, and the environmental implications.
Mhm.
And I remember even somewhere briefly reading that even the gas emission alone apparently put all the I mean, we talk so much about, gases emitted from all the cars and, everything else, but apparently the meat industry exceeds all of that.
Massive,
So
massive.
yeah, so I'm like, holy shit, like then
Yeah,
I'm screwing up the whole planet as well, and literally for my kids and all the future
yeah,
generations. So I think if I put those three things together,
yeah.
and I'm like, okay, that really gets me to think about, okay, now let me explore that. But now let's, so, we talked a little bit about, some of the reasons why you've chosen to become vegan, and you even taken a step further, really sort of the whole food plant-based, so really sort of the ultimate health by the sound of it. But like where people are, because I guess I'm still somewhere in between, where I still eat some animal product, not meat, but some little things here and there. But I wonder how could we actually explain it to people, like even from the point of view of, because I would argue that nobody wants to change unless they see strong reason, strong benefit for them. But
Yeah,
how do you think, I mean, being a coach, you know all about human behavior and how to influence it in a positive way. How, what steps do you think we could actually now take from here onwards? What are first couple of simple steps? Because we know we have some, platform. We have our Be Well Melbourne or Mental Freedom group. Of course, our Facebook profile. So, what could be sort of good sort of action point to get things started?
I think the number one thing that we could all do, which means we will all possibly have a different outcome, but look at our own personal health.
Mhm.
Look at our health, because we're animals. And like I said earlier at the beginning of this, animal cruelty is also about the cruelty to humans.
Mm.
And look at our own health and just notice what symptoms, what's our body telling us. For instance, if you have an issue with your skin, it's usually your health, your gut health, and quite often dairy is the issue for there. If you have gut health, you have indigestion, or you have heartburn, or you have reflux, or you get tummy aches after certain foods, or gluten intolerant, or lactose intolerant, or any of these intolerants, quite often that is because your gut health is not healthy. Quite often, taking out some of these animal products will start to help your gut get healthy again. Maybe
Mm.
starting there, that's the ultimate what is in it for me, is my health. I mean,
Yeah.
that's where I started. And I sometimes I kick myself, and I do, I'm not a big person on guilt, so I don't play guilt game, but sometimes I would just roll my eyes and think, why on earth did I wait until I was so sick that I was sitting in an oncologist's office where an oncologist was saying to me, Cherie, you've probably got 2 or 3 years left. This is
Wow.
what's going on in your body. And I'm going, no, no, I've got kids. This is not happening. So I
Mm.
waited until that really, really hit me. So maybe the first thing I would say to everyone is just look at your health, listen to your body, listen to your body, whether it's reacting to different foods, whether you're feeling sluggish or tired or brain fogged, whether your brain's the thing that's reacting, whether you're carrying a little bit extra weight, that no matter what you do, it's because even when you exercise and you think you're eating well, it still doesn't shift. Your body's the best place to start. I do believe that. And if you
Mm.
do, and that's really personal as well.
Mhm.
And chuck some questions on. If you've got something, and I'm very happy if you share my message if they want to do it privately rather than on the open forum that they've got an issue that's something to do with their health. Just throw a question out there, and I'll help any way I can with research and stuff that I found out myself. But apart from me, I'm not the go-to guru on this. There is so much information out there if you're prepared to actually look for it and you're honest with yourself.
Mhm.
Being authentic about your reasons for wanting to do this, then no amount of me saying this is what you should do is going to work.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Um, but I feel one or two simple actions that come to my mind, yeah, like because in the end, people have to be honest and why they want to do it, why they want to explore, and what are the benefits. But one or two simple action items come up for me. It's like, okay, of course, we can, because there's so much of wonderful stuff discussed here, so it'd be worthwhile to actually share it with people.
Mm-hmm.
in our group on Facebook, etc. And then also I feel like a gentle event, because I feel people are not even just going to really just start asking themselves a question, but I feel maybe, what do you think about actually doing this movie night, some point
I like that
soonish,
idea. Yeah,
and the Game Changers sound like the perfect movie, because we'll have probably all different age ranges, but yeah, it would be actually
yeah,
really cool to have sort of some young, fit, strong people, athletes and sports
yeah.
players and stuff like that. I think it would bring a cool point of view, and it sounds like, what do you think we kind of do that, and take
I
that?
think it's a great idea. Yeah, because quite often, being an animal activist, being a vegan, being a healthy person, it's all about being a hippie or being an older person or being someone
Yeah,
who's really, you know, really unhealthy. But actually, that film is so good because it's all being spoken from a point of a very fit and healthy, young-minded, not always young in years, but young-minded person. So I think it's a great
yes,
film to start with. Good one to start with. Yeah.
perfect. Good. So yeah, let's do that, and then we could set up an event like documentary and discussion, doco and discussion kind of thing, and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And if anyone wants to, like, if you want to split it up into subject matters each time we do this after watching a film, if we, let's say we want to, a lot of comments that I get are, it's too expensive to go vegan.
hmm,
How do you get your vitamins and minerals if you go vegan? How do you get your protein? Where do you get your iron? I mean, we can touch on all those kind of subjects in small,
good
maybe half
idea.
an hour slots. We can have a half an hour slot on how do you get your calcium if you're not having dairy. And maybe we could do it that way, just little snippets, and people can then choose whether they want to have a meat-free night or a dairy-free, or and yeah, open to suggestions of what people want rather than me saying let's do this. I
Good
think that's
idea, good idea. Because I feel what would be worthwhile is something simple where people, because one thing I remember, I've discussed the ideas a couple of times in past, um, where some amazing vegan friends or animal activists had these great ideas, but people were not quite ready even really to start discussing all those details. So that's why I felt something that gives a very low barrier to entry, like again, movie and discussion night, something like
yeah, or
that.
even
What?
some recipes. I have a newsletter that I send
Yeah.
out to my clients because one side of my business is I'm
Oh,
a small
yes.
business coach, and the other side is I'm a vegan coach. So
Ah,
I have a
okay.
newsletter that I send out regularly to
Oh,
people, and
great.
tell
Sure.
them to send me their email if they're interested in some recipes. I can just send them some recipes they can get started on. So
Oh, that's actually brilliant. Okay, great, great. So yeah, I think that would be really worthwhile, because I'm confident there would be a bunch of people interested in the topic. I mean, look, we all have been hearing about it. So it's
mm,
really good that you can actually also help some people through that journey as well. So, oh, that's great.
I'd love to. So
Um,
movie night's a great start. I think it's a good idea. Yeah.
yeah, and I mean, second thing you mentioned, you're happy to share some ideas as well and answer questions. How would people find you if yeah, what's do they typically find you on Facebook, or what's an easiest way for somebody if they have
The
a question?
easiest way to jump on my website. Jump on my website. Let me know what it is. There's a little thing on there. You can send me a question. It's the tangiblecoach.com is me. The www.thetangiblecoach.com.
Okay,
Send me questions, and once you send me your email, I'll then send you my newsletter and recipes and all sorts of tips and things. And there's always links to research, so it's not just me saying it either. So there's proof behind what goes in there.
amazing, amazing. I think that's what people want to see, that there is also proof. But I mean, as much as we would just like to trust you, but it's really good that
Oh
you
no.
know, it, yeah, yeah. So the tangible coach.com.
Yes, that's me.
Perfect,
Yes.
perfect. Nice. Great, cool. This was a good discussion. I felt we cover a few important topics, and to sum it all up, we said, there are three sides to the story. Like when you're thinking meat or veg or vegan, is hmm, what's in it for me from my own health point of view? What happens to the animals and the whole environmental impact? So it sounds like, hmm, and they're good to know that we'll put up the documentary and discussion night. Good to know that people can ask you via Facebook, or even better through your website, any questions. So I guess, if we start taking the action, and I'm sure more and more people will start the conversation, and then the movement starts to happen. Then then we
Absolutely.
lead people wherever they want to go to, so to speak. But yeah, at least the invitation is there and the support is there, which is
Absolutely.
what's going to make a difference.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing here that we can do is try and take some of the confusion out of it, because
Yeah,
it's such a
absolutely.
minefield of conflicting information coming from all different directions. One day beans are good for you, the next day they're bad for you, one day gluten's good, the next day it's bad, and it's like so confusing that I think that also stops a lot of people, because they just go, oh, throw their hands up and go, I can't keep up.
Exactly.
So if we can just take some of that confusion out, make it a little bit easier to slide in, before they know it, they'll be making, the odd meal, the odd change, the odd little thing, and they'll feel that like they're making a difference without it being overwhelming.
Perfect. That's what we want. Great.
Yeah. Mm.
So nice. Great. Thank you,
Thank
Sherry.
you.
This was great. Yes, yes. I loved it. So thank you, guys. I will stop the recording now. Any questions, of course, reach out to myself or Sherry. Thank you, guys.